Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, the Roman announcement in so far MBDS are lecture of this course, and we are from Group 5. We want to explain material about intercultural communication in a global workplace. Okay, before that, let me introduce my member group. My name is Naila Indra Esnandra, and my friend Karina Alvarestina, Fitratul Umia, and Soba Satyana. Okay, the first material is about introduction. Okay, globalization has made workplace more diverse, requiring companies to adapt to different cultures for effective communication. Factors like culture, gender, race, and ethnicity influence workplace interaction, but challenges such as discrimination and communication barriers still exist. These factors explore this issue, highlighting how countries like Britain, South Africa, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia have improved intercultural communication to strengthen workplace relationship. Okay, and the next material will be explained by Karina Alvarestina.
The first material about general dimension of culture. So, before we study other cultures, it's important to understand our own culture. Knowing our values and beliefs help us better understand and compare them to other cultures. This awareness helps us avoid misunderstanding or misinterpreting other. And research about communication between culture is still often referred to, but it mainly comes from Western countries. And it's important to think critically about this research and avoid assuming that all cultures are the same, because it might not represent the full diversity of culture around the world. And these two theories are important for understanding how different cultures behave and communicate, and how theory talk about complex culture where communication is indirect, and context culture where communication is direct. And Halstead's theory looks at how culture differ in areas like communication style, group behavior, and values. And these theories look at different aspects of culture, how people in different culture communicate and behave in group, how culture see time, for example, punctuality versus being more flexible with time, and how power is shared, for example, how leaders are treated, and how culture view gender roles, and whether they focus more on group harmony is collectivism or personal goals is individualism. And next is criticism of cultural homogenization. So, one criticism of these cultural theories is that they often treat entire culture as if they are all the same, ignoring that each person and group within the culture might be different. This can lead to stereotypes and unfair discussion. Also, it often places the responsibility for good communication on the people from other culture instead of the people from dominant culture. And to truly understand culture, we need to think about more than just general cultural norms. We should also consider gender, race, and ethnicity to avoid oversimplified views and make our understanding more inclusive and open-minded. Next. Next material is culture, gender, race, and ethnicity. The first one is culture and communication. Culture refers to everything that shapes how people live, including the way they behave, their values, and their customs. How we communicate both through word and action show our culture. It helps us share our beliefs and values with others. And the way we understand a message can depend on our culture. People from different culture might interpret the same message in different ways. And culture not only shapes how our communicate, but communication can also change culture. And the way we talk to each other can influence our cultural nerve. And next is gender and gender refers to the roles and expectations that society creates for people based on whether they are male or female. It's not just about biology, but also society's views. And in many workplaces, women are often put in lower position, even when they are equally qualified as men. This can limit their opportunities for growth and leadership roles. And there are various unfair assumptions or stereotypes, and that make it harder for women and minority groups to get equal treatment and opportunities in many areas of life, including at work. And next is race and ethnicity in communication. So race is not just about biology, skin color, for example, but it also shaped by social and political factors. It can affect how people are treated in society. Ethnic groups are communities of people who share a similar background, like their language, religion, and tradition. And ethnic group, people from different ethnic groups might experience conflict or unfair treatment, especially when they try to keep their cultural practice and identity. So, one is historical, racial, and ethnic discrimination. So, in some countries, there were laws or systems in place that exclude certain racial groups from equal treatment, like the apartheid system in South Africa. And some countries had rules that only allow white people to access certain rights and opportunities. And the rule lasts until recent decades, creating lasting racial tension. And so, the way we handle race, gender, and ethnicity affect how our communicate with others, how fair workplace, and how inclusive society is. And this issue continue to shape our work today. Okay, the next material will be explained by Dr.
Okay, the next material is about cultural and racial discrimination. So the first is we want to discuss about the definition of cultural and racial discrimination. Cultural and racial discrimination occurs when an individual or group is treated unfairly based on their culture or race. This often arises in cultural interaction where people bring their specific cultural understandings, attitudes, and behaviors into communication. In many cases, discrimination is not always intentional, but it still negatively impacts the affected groups. For the example, a business person from the United States who crossed their legs during a meeting in Arab country may not intend any offense, but in Arab culture, showing the soles of one's feet is considered disrespectful. So this misunderstanding creates tension in communication due to a lack of cultural awareness between both parties. And the second is about cases of cultural and racial discrimination. The first cases is about a different cultural assumption, a perception. When people from different cultures interact, they often have different assumptions about the situation, appropriate behavior, and intention within it. So these differences can lead to misunderstandings and even tension in communication. And the second is about difference in communication style. We have two different communication styles. The first is about direct communication, low context cultures. This communication style we can find in Western cultures. The Western cultures such as United States and United Kingdom, communication is usually straightforward and to the point. And the second is indirect communication, high content cultures. And we can find this culture in Asian, Arabic, or African cultures. This communication is often more implicit and relies heavily on nonverbal cues. So when this communication style limit, misunderstanding often arise. Westerners may perceive ASEAN as efficient, while Asians may view Westerners as too blunt or too rude. Okay, the third is about lack of cultural awareness. Lack of knowledge about the norms and customs of other cultures can create tension in communication. People often judge others' behavior based on their own cultural standard without understanding the background of the other person's culture. Okay, next. Okay, the next is about the impact of cultural and racial discrimination in the workplace. The first impact is about social exclusion. Employees from certain racial or cultural groups may be ignored or left out, either consciously or unconsciously. And the second is about unequal job opportunities. Some racial or cultural groups may face more barriers in getting promotion or better job prospect. And the last is about inclusive work environment. When the dominant culture dictates the way the work and communication are conducted, the minority groups may feel uncomfortable or forced to adapt in ways that are difficult for them. Then the next material is about the crosstalk study from Hurst, Chubb, and Roberts, 1979. The crosstalk study examined cultural and racial tension between native English speakers and the Asian and Afro-Caribbean communities in English, particularly in workplace setting. The first is about language. Language alone is not enough for effective communication. Many assume that if someone is fluent in dominant language, the example is about English, they will not face communication barriers. But the study revealed that even fluent English speakers face discrimination due to their accent, speech pattern, and cultural background. And the second is about cultural irritation in communication. People from different culture often display impatience or discomfort during communication due to different communication style. In the study, ASEAN participants used an indirect communication style, while English speakers expected direct response. So this causes frustration and misunderstanding. Right? The last is about discrimination versus despite language proficiency. A participant in a study noted that even though he spoke fluent English, people made assumptions based on his appearance and did not truly listen to him. This highlights that racial factors continue to be barriers in communication and employment even when language proficiency is achieved. Okay, the next. The next material is about language as a tool of discrimination. We have two cases. The first is about case of South Africa. During apartheid in South Africa, the Afrikaans language was used to restrict education and employment opportunities for the South Africans. To get better jobs, individuals had to learn Afrikaans, despite the language being associated with oppression and discrimination. And second is about the dominance of English. English has become to the dominant in the global workplace, particularly in countries like Canada, Australia, the US, and the UK. Those who are not proficient in English often face difficulties securing better job opportunities. The examples about Australia's worker in Canada struggle to find a job that matches his qualification to language barrier. this demonstrates how language can serve a discriminatory factor in the job market, reinforcing social and economic inequalities. Next. The next material is about current trends in the global workplace. The first is about technological advancement. Technology has drastically changed the way we work. Faster internet and better broadband allow business to communicate instantly across the globe. Additionally, digital platforms such as Google, blogs, Twitter, podcasts, and YouTube have accelerated the exchange of information across borders. These programs allow individuals and organizations to disseminate knowledge, engage in discussion, and build global communities. However, while the internet has created numerous benefits, it has also introduced political challenges. Governments and corporations must make negative issues related to cybersecurity, data privacy, and the regulation of online content to ensure ethical and secure digital interaction. The second is about air transportation. Travel has made it easier and faster to move between countries, helping businesses expand globally. So, the evolution of air transportation has revolutionized global mobility, drastically reducing travel time and making it easier for individuals to move across continents for work and business opportunities. This increased mobility has played a crucial role in shaping the global economy. With this ease of international travel, business can expand their operation beyond national borders, leading to increased outsourcing, cross-border negotiation, and measures. Companies can now access talent from different parts of the world, enhance collaboration, and strengthen to their presence. Furthermore, air transportation has enabled multinational corporations to manage operations in multiple locations, fostering international trade and economic growth. Okay, next is about population shifts. These have two factors in population shift. The first factor is about push factors. Push factors is about when they want to have a better jobs, education, and safety, that attract them to new places. And the second factor is about push factors, when they have a war, poverty, natural disasters, so that force them to leave. And the example for push and pull factors is about, the first is push factors, war and conflict. The millions of Syrians have fled their country since 2011 to the ongoing civil war, seeking safety in countries like Turkey, Germany, and Canada. And the second is about the poverty and unemployment. Due to hyperinflation and economic collapse, millions of Venezuelans have migrated to neighboring countries like Colombia and Brazil in search of jobs and basic necessities. And the natural disasters is the Haiti earthquake. After the devastating earthquake killed thousands and destroyed infrastructure, many Haitians moved to the US, Canada, and Dominican Republic better living conditions. And also about political persecution in Uyghurs in China. Many Uyghurs Muslims have fled China due to alleged human rights violence and persecution, seeking asylum in countries like Turkey and US. Okay, and the example of pull factors is about the better job opportunities like the Indian IT professional in the US, and for the quality education is about Chinese students in the UK and the US, the political stability exactly, Ukrainian refugees in Poland, and for the higher living standard is African migrants in Europe, and the family reunification is Filipino workers in Canada. Okay, the next material will be explained by Sofa.
The next material is about diversity in communication style. Ahead, French and Dixon contain the same language variants in English practices. It is important to explore ways of expressing what you mean. So, language cannot always our intention accurately. So, we need to find more effective ways to communicate. And in order for communication to run smoothly, there are three main factors that must be considered. The first one is environment. When does the communication take place? Is it a formal or casual setting? And the second one is message content. What is being said and how it conveyed, and the last is expectation. Does it learn to the standard and decipher of the message expressed. Next, if the three aspects are understood, the message will be clearer, and the risk of misunderstanding can be reduced. Okay, the next is high context versus low context cultures. The first is high context cultures. For example, in Japan, China, Korea, Iran, and Africa. So, high context cultures. In these cultures, communication is indirect and relies a lot of relationship with the language and the situation. People don't always exactly what they mean. They expect others to read between the lines or understand based on shared knowledge. Respect and social harmony are very important, so people avoid saying things that might stimulate or together. And the next is low context cultures. For example, in USA, UK, Germany, and France. So in these cultures, communication is direct and clear. People say exactly what they mean. Words are more important than context. There lies reliance on body language or shared knowledge or shared understanding. People prefer clear instruction and written agreements to avoid confusion. Next. Next is challenges in workplace communication. The first one is differences in direct and indirect. Now, some people from low context cultures like to be very direct and say exactly what they mean, but also others from high context culture prefer to be more indirect and polite. Okay. Now, if people from these different cultures work together, they might misunderstanding each other. And the next potential is understanding due to cultural expectation. Now, in some culture, silence can mean I think, but in other, it can mean I disagree. The last is need for awareness and adaptability in diverse environments. Since workplaces are becoming more diverse, people need to learn about different culture and adjust their communication styles. Being flexible and understanding helps avoid problems and create better teamwork. Next. The next material is about barriers to intercultural communication. The first one is practice of stereotyping. Stereotyping means thinking of people from a group are the same. These ideas are often wrong and come from limited experience. can cause misunderstanding and unfair treatment. The practice of stereotyping can also lead to the tendency to label others as belonging to categories. This negative connotation is also referred to as cultural labeling. The next second one is the role of prejudicial attitudes. Prejudice is a negative opinion about a person or group without knowing them well. It is based on stereotypes and can be about things like religion, gender, age, or social classes. Prejudice can cause unfair treatment, create conflict, and make one group feel superior to another. The next is overt and covert forms of racism. Racism happens when people believe that one race is better than another. It can be open or overt or hidden, it's covert, and exists in many parts of the world. Racism affects people's lives in different ways, and many organizations work to reduce it. The next is forms of workplace discrimination. Discrimination in the workplace happens when someone is treated unfairly because they race, gender, language, or religion. It can make people feel uncomfortable and create problems between employees, managers, and customers. Next is ethnocentric perspectives. Ethnocentrism is when people judge other culture using their own culture as the standard. This can make them believe that their culture is better than others. It is often learned through education, media, and social links. Ethnocentrism can make it difficult for different cultural groups to work together. The next is intercultural phobia. Some people are afraid of culture that are different from their own. This fear can be stronger when there are conflicts between different cultural or religious groups. For example, after 9/11 attacks, some people develop a fear of Muslims. We can say Islamophobia. This fear can lead to discrimination and even violence. And the next is crossing the language divide. Language differences can make communication difficult, especially in the workplace. Words and body language can have different meanings in different cultures, leading to misunderstanding. In some cases, language barriers have been used to discriminate against people, as seen in South Africa during apartheid. And the last is host country experience. Immigrants often find it hard to get jobs because they do not have work experience in the new country. In places like Canada and New Zealand, employers may reject their applications because they lack of local experience. This is considered discrimination in some countries. Okay, the next material is one training that I like.
Okay, the next material is enhancing intercultural communication. And here are steps to improve intercultural communication. The first one is conduct a personal self-assessment. Start by evaluating your own attitude towards other cultures. What you bring to communication can influence its success. Self-reflection helps you understand your own culture and how to act based on those perceptions. And the next is consider the setting and context. Time and context influence communication. So different cultures view the appropriate time for business or socializing differently. Acknowledging this helps make communication more effective. And the next is alternate communication channels. Okay, using multiple communication channels is helpful. Being flexible in communication allows us to adapt our approach to different situations and cultures. And the next is practice supportive communication. Empathy is key to effective communication. By trying to understand the feelings of others, we can build tolerance and appreciate their culture. And the next is develop language competencies. Language is the main tool of communication. focus on literal meaning to avoid confusion. Learning other language helps us to understand their cultural nuances and improves communication. And the next is encourage feedback. Feedback is important to ensure shared understanding, whether verbal or non-verbal. Honest and clear feedback helps prevent misunderstandings. Okay, the next is develop appreciation toward diversity. Learn about and appreciate cultural differences. Every difference offers an opportunity to learn and improve our intercultural competences. And the next is avoid stereotypes. Avoid making assumptions based on stereotypes. Treat each person as an individual and value them for who they are. And the next is avoid ethnocentrism. While it's important to appreciate our own culture, don't consider its superior. Other cultures offer valuable perspective and we can learn from them without losing our identity. And the last is develop a sense of universalism. Our world is full of cultural differences, and we should learn to find common ground that unites us. The goal is to be global citizens who embrace differences in culture, race, gender, and identity.